and it's a disgrace. And then you have the other thing that maybe is even more disgraceful is the gag order, where I can't basically, I have to watch every word I tell you people. You ask me a question, a simple question, I'd like to give it, but I can't talk about it. Because this judge has given me a gag order and said you'll go to jail if you violate it. And frankly, you know what? Our Constitution is much more important than jail. It's not even close. I'll do that sacrifice any day. But what's happening here is a disgrace, and the appellate courts ought to get involved. New York looks so bad. The New York system of so-called justice looks so bad between this judge in Cohen and Kaplan. You triple team with corrupt judges is a disgrace to our nation. So I should be out there campaigning, and they said 2, and the way I look at it, they're really talking about 3 weeks more. And by the way, they didn't even have enough to fill out the time. You know, we got out early today because they didn't have another witness.
That was Trump after he officially ran out of rope in his New York criminal trial. So this morning he was found to have violated his gag order for a 10th time. 10 times, drawing not only another slap on the wrist, that was the maximum $1,000 fine, but this time, a clear promise from Judge Merchan about what the next step would be. Merchan said, quote, "It appears that the $1,000 fines are not serving as a deterrent. The last thing I want to do is to put you in jail. You are the former president of the United States and possibly the next president as well. There are many reasons why incarceration is truly a last resort for you. At the end of the day, I have a job to do. As much as I do not want to propose a jail sanction, I will if necessary." And so there it is. No more warnings for Trump as Judge Merchan draws a line in the sand. And if you refer back to this moment.
And then you have the other thing that maybe is even more disgraceful is the gag order, where I can't basically, I have to watch every word I tell you people. You ask me a question, a simple question, I'd like to give it, but I can't talk about it.
You'll hear Trump say that he has to watch every word that he says. So that we're clear, Trump keeps trying to frame his gag order as if it's some sweeping violation of his First Amendment rights. The gag order is there to stop him from attacking and intimidating witnesses and jury members. That's it. He can say anything else that he wants, but he's treating his supporters like they're idiots and pretending, operative word, pretending, that he can't say anything at all. Look, if this guy can't tell the difference between regular speech and attacking witnesses and jury members, then maybe it's not someone with the cognitive ability to be able to serve as president. Just, you know, for starters. And by the way, everyone should know that this isn't some new high bar only imposed on Donald Trump. Criminal defendants do not have unlimited free speech rights, period. His speech is curbed to protect the integrity of the trial. That means that if his speech will prevent witnesses from testifying honestly and openly, the judge has the right, the obligation to curb his speech. If his speech will prevent jurors from passing judgment honestly and openly, the judge has the right, the obligation to curb his speech. The court's responsibility here is to protect the integrity of the trial. If Trump's words or actions endanger that, then the court has every right in the world to limit Donald Trump's speech. I don't know how much clearer I could make that. In fact, far from Trump receiving unfair negative treatment, it is the polar opposite here. The guy's enjoying leeway that no criminal defendant in history would enjoy. He's out there claiming that he's being unfairly discriminated against because he's a Republican candidate for president, when the only unfairness happening is the inordinate amount of rope that he's already been given in this trial. But remember, Trump is always the victim, even when he's not. I spoke with my Legal Breakdown co-host Glenn Kirshner about this exact phenomenon, and here's what he had to say. If the defendant to that point wasn't Donald Trump, what would have happened to a regular guy who defied a gag order once, much less 10 times?
You know, he would have been promptly fined the first time, and he would have been jailed the second time. Donald Trump has racked up at least 10 criminal contempts for which he has not been held accountable, even with a fine. So, yes, the entire system is bending over backwards, catering to Donald Trump, treating him as they would treat no other defendant, and in the process sacrificing the safety of everybody else, witnesses, jurors, prosecutors, judges, and their respective family members. So, yeah, if it wasn't Donald Trump, this person would have been jailed long ago and would probably be in pretrial detention for the entirety of the trial. And remember that Glenn and I will be doing daily comprehensive coverage of this entire trial in New York, so if you want to follow along and keep on top of what happens, please make sure to subscribe to this channel. You'll notice too that Trump has said this.
Because this judge has given me a gag order and say you'll go to jail if you violate it. And frankly, you know what? Our Constitution is much more important than jail. It's not even close. I'll do that sacrifice any day.
That he is perfectly willing to go to jail. And look, I'm not here to psychoanalyze Donald Trump, but while he may play it tough and suggest that he would love to go to jail, and while he frames himself as the next Nelson Mandela, at my core, I believe that the guy realizes the reality of him sitting in a jail cell would be terrible. Sure, he could rile up his base who's already voting for him. Sure, he can squeeze him for some more money. Sure, he'll get Sean Hannity and Judge Jeanine and Laura Ingraham to dial up the faux outrage to a 10 and pretend that their God King is even more of a victim now. But think about the implications of the broader electorate. Think about what it would look like for those independent voters, and those suburban moms, and those pro-democracy Republicans out there who may have voted for Nikki Haley, for example, to see this guy languishing in a jail cell. You think those people are going to like that? You think that's going to make them want to vote for this guy more? You think that's a smart campaign move a few months out from the election? Again, I'm not talking about the rabid MAGA folks. These people are already on board. I'm talking about the people who are actually up for grabs and who Donald Trump needs if he wants to win the next election in November. If the lasting image that all of those people have before they go into a voting booth is that one guy was just in a prison cell, I don't exactly think that's going to help him. So Trump will play the whole tough guy routine, but if I had to bet, I think the last thing he wants to do is get himself locked up. And by the way, that's already clear in this very clip. Trump literally tries not to violate his gag order. He is proving my point. If he actually wanted to go to jail, he could have very simply just attacked Michael Cohen or Stormy Daniels. He didn't. He talks a tough game, but at the end of the day, he is complying because he's scared of ending up in a jail cell. And that's the part worth discussing. Trump is complying because he's scared. He wants his supporters to believe that he's in charge, that he's tough, that no one can stop him from saying what he wants to say or doing what he wants to do, but in reality, he's not in charge. He is at the mercy of a justice system that, at least theoretically, shouldn't care who's sitting in the defendant's chair. And so Trump's air of invincibility that he relies on to dupe his fans into thinking that he's tough is withering away in real time. Instead, he looks weak, and for a self-proclaimed strongman, there is nothing worse. He is stuck in a courtroom, whining about how cold it is, falling asleep on a daily basis. Donald Trump is the image of weakness, and even he knows that the only way for him to look even weaker than he does right now is if he was stuck in a jail cell. He'll pretend that it's some badge of honor, but he'll look like a weak, desperate criminal, even more so than he does right now. And look, I want to take a step back for a moment and issue a little reminder here. I'm not especially interested in the prospect of Donald Trump spending a night or a week or longer in jail. From a legal perspective, is it important that Trump be held to the same standards as everyone else? Of course it is. If the guy violates his gag order, he should 100% be subject to the same rules as any other criminal defendant who also violates his gag order. But I think that getting to the end of this trial with no issues so that Trump can be convicted by a jury of his peers, that, in my opinion, is going to be a hell of a lot more important long-term than some brief stint in a jail cell in terms of influencing how voters perceive Donald Trump. He committed these crimes, he should be held accountable for these crimes. And the faster we can get to that accountability, that resolution, with no issues, the more important it'll be long term. I want to make sure that by the time Americans head to the polls in November, that they know their options are between Joe Biden, who signed into law the American Rescue Plan, the Inflation Reduction Act, the Infrastructure Law, the CHIPS Act, the PACT Act, the Gun Safety Law, the Violence Against Women Act reauthorization, the guy who codified marriage equality into federal law, who added over 15 million jobs, who kept the unemployment rate below 4% for 26 straight months, who presided over a record high stock market, and who led us to the fastest economic recovery in the world, or a convicted felon. Seems like a pretty clear choice to me. Before you go, I need some help. Please subscribe to this channel and do your part to help grow the progressive media ecosystem. I don't do sponsorships or paid ads, I won't ask for money, but just subscribing to this channel goes a really long way, and it helps get the message out to more people. The subscribe button is right here on the screen. You can also subscribe to my Spanish language channel, which I made to reach those crucial Spanish-speaking voters. That link is on the screen too. And finally, if you want to listen to my audio podcast, you can follow that link as well. Thanks so much for watching.